Joining us now for conversation on what the President said today in Parliament is the African Transformation Movement President Vuyo Zungula. Of course, they brought up the question on the President having economic activity other than what he is been voted to do, being the President of the country. And he says, Dr. Zungula, good evening, and thank you very much for your time in joining us tonight. He says that he declared his farming actions, and he has also disclosed some of the other properties that he owns. Was that an adequate answer for you?
Look, Thabo, one of the things that we need to note, the issue on this Phala Phala issue, it is not about the disclosure. It is about the violation of Section 96 of the Constitution, which states that members of cabinet must not take any other paid work. Now, when he's going on about the nature of the farming business he has and what he does, you know, how intricately he's involved, it goes to show that indeed he's undertaking paid work. That's the first issue. The second issue, when he joined government in 2014, he said he's going to hand over all of his business interests to a blind trust whereby he won't have any sight of what is happening in his business interests. That way, to avoid him being in a risk of a conflict between his official capacity and his private interest. Now, his answer today actually made the work of the independent panel very easy, because his answer actually confirms that he lied to Parliament, he lied to the nation when he said he's going to hand over the running of his business interests to a blind trust, because indeed he's not done so, and he's violated Section 96 of the Constitution, and he's violated the South African Police Amendment Act, Act 10 of 2012, which states, Thabo, that a person needs to report the crime to the DPCI. Now, what the President said today, that he reported to a general, you know, that is not what the Act says. So you don't have a choice as to who you report to when a crime is committed. The Act is very clear as to who must the crime be reported to when it's been committed.
Right. So let's touch on those issues that you mentioned. One, you say the President says he had planned to arrange a blind trust. This trust was not set up. Is there any clarity as to why it wasn't set up? And does that then imply that he could then just declare the farming activities? Because it seems from what he's saying here, he had no intention of giving up the farming activity. Yes, the other day-to-day running of whatever happens, he's not involved there. But the farming activity itself is something that he said he would keep doing.
From his answer, what we can make out of his answer, firstly, is that, remember, the issue of the blind trust, it is his commitment to the nation in 2014. In 2022, only because he's cornered on the Phala Phala issue, it's only then that he says that blind trust was not set up, meaning he did not take the nation into his confidence and be proactive and tell the nation that he is no longer going to set up a blind trust. He's going to be actively involved in these particular businesses. So that is what we want the nation to understand here, that we've got, the issue is not the issue of the declaration. The issue is the violation of the Section 96 of the Constitution, which guides or which dictates that members of cabinet may not undertake any other paid work. His admission that indeed is undertaking paid work today makes the work of the independent panel very easy.
Yeah. Then the reporting of the crime to the general, I mean, you've already cleared it out maybe to an extent, and maybe it's something that will be argued, whether this is a correct form of reporting, or is he abusing his power here?
He's indeed abusing his power. But before we go there, if that farm has a manager, it is that manager, when any incident happens, that they need, for example, to report a crime. Like he stated in one of his answers, that whenever that, because he's got so many business interests, if a car gets involved in an accident, he is not the one that is required to call the ambulance or to call the police in such cases. Now, the issue here is that why specifically on this particular theft in Phala Phala, on this particular incident, the need was for him to, for him to be involved, for him to be the go-to person, for him to be the responsible person whereby this crime can be reported. And what would have, why did the manager not actually take it upon himself to report the crime in accordance to what the South African Police Amendment Act requires? Why was it on him as the president to do so? And why did he not follow up whether the proper channels were followed? Because on this case, it clearly shows that he reported to his bodyguard. The person that he reported to is not just a policeman responsible for receiving such reports. It is a bodyguard that is employed by the state to protect him as a person. He then abused his power to make this person who is employed by the state to protect him, to investigate and follow the theft that has been done in Phala Phala. That is a clear abuse of power.
So it says he was informing a police official, not just a general who is within his protection service, but a police official, because he is essentially surrounded by police officials all the time.
That is not the issue. Even here in Parliament, we are surrounded by police officials. However, if something happens to my own personal property in Parliament, I need to note that I have a police station that I have to go and report the case to, that a personal property has been stolen. So by me just merely informing a police official who happens to be at the boom gate when we enter Parliament, that is not a reason enough for the president to hide behind that police official. He should have taken the responsibility to report that particular crime to the respected person. And unfortunately, that respected person is not a bodyguard, is not just a general who happens to be around him to guard him, but the responsibility of the president should have been to report that particular crime to the DPCI as espoused in the Act, the South African Police Amendment Act 10 of 2012.
Vuyo Zungula, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on this evening. That is the president of ATM, Vuyo Zungula. They were bringing those questions to the president, who was facing a grueling time today in Parliament, answering on ESCOM, answering on state capture, but also more importantly, answering on what happened on his farm in Limpopo during 2020 February when money seemingly was stolen there. 8 institutions of state seized with that matter. Still no clear report, quite honestly at this time, as to what actually happened there.